The day is March 12th, 2020. Cases have just appeared in India, Indonesia, Ethiopia, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea. It originated in China, and it was the single largest geopolitical event that would rattle, shake, collapse global markets in at least 12 years, dating back to the 2008 financial crisis, but likely even much farther back than that, and that was the pandemic. And on March 12th, as a result of the pandemic, Bitcoin dropped 50% within a 24-hour span. Literally, between midnight of March 11th all the way through until midnight that would lead into March 13th, Bitcoin would drop from $7,600 down to $3,800. In 24 hours, it was cut in half, a 50% red candle to the downside. And people thought it was over. The reason it dropped that quickly was because it was dropping that quickly. And people saw what was going on in the world. They saw the events in geopolitics. They saw what was happening all around the world. Ports shutting down, flights getting canceled, borders getting closed. A pandemic, the likes of which we had not seen since the Spanish flu. It would result in 100 million casualties by some estimates in the early 1900s. People didn't know what was going to happen. It was the definition of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And you know the only thing that can trump fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right? 2 words. Timeless principles. What do I mean? What happened after March 12th, 2020? Did the pandemic get any better? No. It went on to grow and get vastly more devastating and impact billions of lives, destroyed families, ended lives. It's a horrible thing. It's a plague. Not only did it end the lives of people in their prime, it also shut down the global economy, costing trillions of dollars. It was the largest economic catastrophe the world has known in decades, perhaps ever. And yet, what did the Bitcoin market do? I remember it like it was yesterday. It actually wasn't that long ago. We're talking only 2 years ago now. Bitcoin would rally from $3,800 after it backtested $3,800, which it originally set as a low in December of 2018, January of 2019. After backtesting there, it would go on to rally to more than 220%, the previous all-time high, to $65,000 and then $69,000 within the span of just a short year to a year and a half. That's what Bitcoin did. Why? Well, if you remember to what I just said, the only thing that can trump FUD are strong principles. I'm here today to tell you that what we're witnessing right now in Bitcoin, a drop down to $18,000 on Bitcoin, a drop down below $1,000 on Ethereum, was number one, caused by FUD, being driven by global markets, and number two, will not, has never, and this time is certainly not the end of Bitcoin or Ethereum or anything. What is the thing that we preach at you guys all the time? And now you might be starting to understand why we're preaching it all the time. Price is downstream of fundamentals. I have personally witnessed Bitcoin drop 50% in a day. I have personally witnessed Bitcoin drop 85% from all-time high once, and right now I'm witnessing it drop 70% from all-time high. I've witnessed it drop over 50% from all-time high on a multitude of occasions, more than once. This would be the 4th or 5th time I've seen it happen in my 5 years here in the market. I am not fazed by this in the slightest. You know why? Because I understand a very important concept, and that's called why Bitcoin. That's what we talk about on the channel all the time. Why was Bitcoin founded? Bitcoin was created to solve a very specific problem. Bitcoin was created because the thing that causes these global catastrophes oftentimes is central government trying to manipulate some part of the economy. In 2020, why did the economy go through massive inflation? Why did the economy get shut down? Why did the price of goods more than double. Some goods are up over 200%. Sheet of plywood went from $40 to $120. There are people in construction that I know that bought a work truck brand new, put 70,000 miles on it, and then they have people coming and trying to buy it back from them for more than they bought it for when it was brand new, because there's so much inflation. Where did that come from? That came from the powers that be manipulating the economy and not allowing for the effects of the pandemic to apply right then. Instead, we borrowed and stole from the future to try and put a Band-Aid on today so that we would bleed out in 10 years. And that's what we're witnessing right now. Not only are we witnessing the effects of rising interest rates, of war in Europe, not only are we witnessing the effects of tensions in the South China Sea with China and the United States over Taiwan, not only are we witnessing all of those things, we're also witnessing the effects of stealing from our future to pay for the pain of 2 years ago when the pandemic happened. Was that a good decision or not? I don't know. I don't have a time machine, a magic 8-ball, a fancy hot tub, or a DeLorean. I can't go back in time and alter the course of human history and see what it would have been like if they hadn't have done that. Maybe it would have been so much worse. Maybe they made the right decision. I would rather bet on turning financial principles into financial physical law. What do I mean? What Bitcoin does and why it's so valuable and why a little price drop doesn't scare me in the slightest is because Bitcoin was not founded to go up and to the right. It going up and to the right is a byproduct of one very simple fact. And that is, Bitcoin has taken monetary policy out of the hands of central powers and codified it into natural law. That's what it's done. The inflation mechanics. It's been codified into law in the SHA-256 hashing algorithm. The total supply has been codified into law in the algorithm. The ability to send Bitcoin, whether or not Bitcoin can be traced through an open ledger, all of these factors have been codified into more or less physical law that exists on the internet. It is unchangeable except by a supermajority. I'm talking 80-90% of miners have to agree, and they're never going to agree to compromise core Bitcoin mechanics because it would undermine the entire value and they'd lose their money. It is the most powerful, unhackable, robust system that humankind has ever conceived. And because of that, even when it's down 70%, it still holds hundreds of billions of dollars of investor value. Yeah, we're down. We're down quite a bit. And as somebody who has a very large portion of their net worth in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, I'm down too. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm not. But today's Father's Day, and it makes me think about something. I'm a father. Very blessed to be one. When Bitcoin is down, my net worth, monetarily, is down. Do I put my hope in that? Do I put my hope in my net worth, in my monetary net worth? Truthfully, do I put my value in my family? Do I put my value in myself or my ministry, which is this channel? I put my value in the name of Jesus Christ. Because if I put my value, and if I put my hopes, and if I put my identity into any of that, first, and don't get me wrong, part of our identity is being in ministry on YouTube, being a father, being a husband. That is part of our identity, but if that's the number one root of our identity, then what happens if that gets taken from you? What happens if your Bitcoin gets taken from you, and that's the foundation of your identity? You're shattered. You see, the Word talks about the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There's 9 of them. We all want those 9 things. You're not going to find them anywhere else other than the Spirit. If you're freaking out about Bitcoin right now, I would encourage you in 2 things. Number 1, the secular thing, and this is the takeaway from anybody who's not interested in the Christian message here. The secular takeaway here is stop worrying so much about the price of Bitcoin and turn your eyes back to the why of Bitcoin. Understand your risk tolerance. How much are you willing to lose? Don't invest a dime more. In fact, invest maybe half that much. What's your time horizon? Are you going to be in this thing for a year? If so, it's probably not a long enough time horizon. Are you going to be in it for 5, 10 years? Good. Because if you go back in history 5 years into the past, there's not a single day in Bitcoin's entire history, even on this drop, that you would not have been in profit if you would have held for 5 years. Not one single day. Any day throughout the entire history of Bitcoin, going back 5 years or more, obviously, not one day would you have bought Bitcoin, and 5 years later you would not have been in profit. Go back and check. I guarantee you, there's not one day. Remember the why of Bitcoin. Remember that Bitcoin's price is downstream of its fundamental value proposition, and its fundamental value proposition is a $100 trillion solution to one of the biggest problems that humankind has, which is that we keep trying to manipulate the currency because we think we can run the economy better than the economy can run itself. We've known for hundreds of years that economies run themselves best with very limited regulation, with very limited oversight, very laissez-faire. That is how they run best. That is how economies grow. It's when you stop meddling with them. And yes, step in and make sure people aren't getting cheated. I understand that. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be certain investor protection regulations and certain, ethical business practice laws. I'm not saying that. But when you start meddling with the finances, when you start meddling with the economy and not letting the thing run on its own, you will build a bubble of an economy. Take it out of the hands of these powers that be that think that they can run it better. Being a father to a 20-month-old, you know what I've realized? We're all children. I see in my son, Malachi, the exact same tendencies that I see in myself. Everyone I know, and the powers that be. We're all selfish. We're all prideful. We all fail to be kind. Hopefully we're all striving for those things, but we all fail in those categories. We're all children. We will fail if not for following the Holy Spirit and the love of Christ. And if we cannot do that, which frankly I have zero trust that the U.S. federal government or any federal government in the world will ever do that, then the next best option is to take the power out of their hands through financial sovereignty using Bitcoin. The government is forced then to surrender it back to the individual, and then maybe the church will start doing its job and surrendering its finances to the Lord. If you remember all of that, then you won't be worried about the price. Because there's something much bigger going on here than price. There is a revolution, the likes of which we have never seen before. And that is the digital economy revolution. And you're a part of it. So I ask you a very simple question. Are you here to make money? Or are you here to be part of a movement that will impact billions of lives for the better? And yeah, we all want to make money while we're doing that. But I tell you the truth. If your number one motive in cryptocurrency is to make money, you're likely to fail. But if your number one motive in cryptocurrency is to be here because you resonate with that why, then you'll almost certainly succeed if you give it enough time. Because if you don't believe in it, I've watched it happen hundreds of times. It's not going to work. Happy Father's Day. I will be back tomorrow, I do believe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.